Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Sarah Saot. I am Dina Marie Tejito. This morning, I will be discussing about the road to sustainable world. And this presentation explains how the world started realizing the importance of protecting our environment while continuing to grow and develop. It also tells how the countries work together to promote a sustainable development. Now, let me define first what is sustainable development. When we say sustainable development, it means meeting the needs of the present without harming the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. In simple words, it means growing, improving, and developing, but in a way that does not destroy the nature. And also sustainable development, it is about finding balance between development and conservation. When we say development, it is a progress, industry, and modern life. And when we say conservation, it is protecting the environment and our natural resources. For example, building new factories is good for jobs, but it should be done using clean energy so that it doesn't harm the environment. Sustainable development allows people and nature to thrive together. And also sustainable development, it is about using resources wisely. If we want to improve our lives, we make sure that the future generations can still enjoy the same resources that we have today. And now, what are the problem or what are the problems of the nature, no, and the world? Now let's proceed to the environmental tragedy. So after the Second World War II, or after the World War II, the world entered a period of rapid economic growth. So many countries built factories, used more cars, and consumed more fuel to increase production. At first, it seemed like success. People had more jobs, cities became modern, and economies grew fast. But soon the negative effects became clear. So the air and water pollution kay mas ni-increase pa, and the forests were cut down for land and timber. And also many animal species lost their homes, and mas ni rise pa ang global temperatures. So the world realized that progress without care leads to destruction. That is why leaders try to find a better way, a way where development and environmental care can go together. Now, let's proceed to the turning point, or what we called the Brundtland Report, or otherwise known as Our Common Future. So it was named after Gro Harlem Brundtland, the former Prime Minister of Norway, who led the World Commission on Environment and Development. So, kani siya nga report left an indelible footprint in the history of the concept sustainable development. It consolidated the years of continuous research and discussion about sustainable development that ended with its publication and dissemination to all members of the international community. So kani siya nga report introduced the idea nga naga-introduce sa idea nga sustainable development. So it said here sa report nga sa kaning report, it said that we must find harmony between economic growth, environmental protection, and social well-being. And then kanipod nga report gawarn siya that if we continue to destroy nature, the future generations will suffer. So they might not have clean air, safe water, or enough food if kita karon nga generation atong abusuhon ang mga natural resources. So, the Brundtland Report, or what we called Our Common Future, inspired the governments to start making environmental policies and programs that balance between development and conservation. Now, what are the events that leads to a sustainable world? So, from the time that Brundtland Report was released, the world took several big steps towards sustainability. There were many international conferences where world leaders gathered to plan and act together. So these are the most important events. So the first one is the Brundtland Report, or what we call Our Common Future. So that was introduced the idea of sustainable development, as what I've said earlier. And then the second one, mao ni siya ang first meeting sa mga world leaders. It is what we call the Rio Earth Summit, that was 1992. No, it created agreements for environmental protection. The third one is the Rio Plus 5 conference, that was 1997. It checked the progress made after 5 years. So mao ni siya ang ikaduha nga meeting sa mga leaders. And then the fourth one is the Rio Plus 10 conference, that was 2002. No, it focused on global issues like water, energy, and health. And then the last one is the Rio Plus 20 conference, that was 2012. So it renewed the world's commitment to sustainability. So each of those events showed how the world moved closer to a sustainable future. Now, let's proceed to the first one, since we already tackled about the Brundtland Report. Let's proceed to the Rio Earth Summit, that was 1992. So the Rio Earth Summit, also known as the World Conference on Environment and Development, in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, that brought together the largest gathering of government leaders and civil society representatives in one international conference. So it attempted to develop a global framework to address the declining condition of the global environment. Its impressive output speak for its remarkable accomplishment that mark a significant leap in the global effort to instill the concept of sustainable development among the members of the international community. So, ari nga gathering sa mga leaders, kay ang ilahang goal was to create a plan to save our planet while still allowing countries to develop. So, diri pod nga gathering, kay the summit produced several important documents. So the first one is the Rio Declaration on Environment and Development. So according to Drix Hedge and Murphy 2010, is made up of 27 principles that serve as guides in the pursuit of sustainable development. So it had 27 principles daw for guiding nations towards sustainability. Now, let's proceed to the second important document, which is the Agenda 21. So, it complements the Rio Declaration on Environment and Development with a detailed action plan on how sustainable development can be achieved in the social, economic, and environmental areas of the concept. So, kani nga Agenda 21 kay it is a global plan of action for sustainable growth at national and local levels. And then the third document is the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. So it is called the UNFCCC. So it is the start of international climate agreements. And then the fourth one is the Convention on Biological Diversity, or the CBD, that focus on protecting the plants and sa mga animals. And then the last document is the Statement of Forest Principles. So it promoted responsible forest management. So these documents became the foundation of environmental laws and policies worldwide. So the Rio Earth Summit marked the true beginning of global cooperation for sustainability. Now, so dili lang kay maupna ang usa ka mga gathering sa mga world leaders, but also after 5 years, sustainable development was again revisited by the members of the international community in a special session known as the Rio Plus 5 Conference. So it was conducted by the United Nations General Assembly on June 23, 1997. So kani siya nga gathering, ang ilahang goal ani kay to evaluate the implementation of the commitments that were made in the previous World Conference on Environment and Development. So over 50 heads of states and representatives from other countries attended the special session and spoke about their achievements in the implementation of sustainable development. So the goal now was to evaluate if the goals from the 1992 Rio Earth Summit were achieved. So kanide ay second gathering sa mga world leaders, kay ang ilahang goal ani kay evaluate nila if na-achieve ba to nila ang ilahang goal pag Rio Earth Summit or katong pag first nila nga gathering sa mga leaders. So during the conference, world leaders admitted that progress was slow. So daghan nga mga countries kay nag-fail to meet their targets, and environmental destruction kay mas naagihapon or it's still happening. So for example, pollution, climate change, and deforestation continued to grow worse. So, however, instead of giving up, the United Nations encouraged countries to renew their promises and keep working together. So still during the conference no ni-admit man to ang mga kanang uban nga leaders nga still wap gihapon nila na achieve ang goal. So kani nga second gathering kay ang ilahang goal karon kay ipadayon to ang ilahang goal pag-una nila nga conference. So this showed that sustainability is a continuous journey. So it takes time, effort, and cooperation from all nations. And then the third one, or the Rio Plus 10 Conference 2002, so mauna ni siya ang ikatulo nga mga gatherings sa mga leaders. So the special session of the United Nations General Assembly was eventually succeeded by the World Summit on Sustainable Development, popularly known as the Rio Plus 10 Conference on August 26, 2002. This World Summit was held at Johannesburg, South Africa, and was also attended by prominent world leaders and other representatives from different international organizations. So kani siya nga conference kay nag-aim to review and strengthen the commitments made in previous years. So kani siya nga gathering kay nag-focus sila sa 5 major areas, which is the first one is the biodiversity, which means protecting all living things. So biodiversity means the variety of life on earth, no, plants, animals, and microorganisms. Protecting biodiversity means taking care of forests, oceans, and all habitats where these living things exist. And then the second one is the agriculture. So it is making food production safer and more efficient. So agriculture is the practice of growing crops and raising animals for food. So to make it safer and more efficient, farmers use modern techniques such as kanang mga organic farming, crop rotation, and kanang technology like drip irrigation. So kani siya nga mga methods makapareduce siya og waste, no, mas maka-avoid siya sa mga harmful chemicals, and also it ensure people eat healthy food. And then the next one is the energy. So using clean and renewable resources or sources. So energy is kanang what we use to power our homes, schools, and transportations. So clean and renewable resources like solar, wind, hydro, and geothermal are better for the planet because they don't produce a harmful pollution or run out. So kanang sa pag-use ani nga mga renewable energy helps reduce climate change and keeps the air clean for people and animals to breathe. And then the next one, no, pinaka-importante, of course, water. It ensuring safe and clean water for everyone. So water is very essential for life. When everyone has access to clean water, it prevents from diseases and help communities stay healthy and strong. Now the last one is health, no, promoting well-being and reducing pollution-related diseases. So health is not just about kanang curing sickness, no, it's about living in a clean and safe environment. And then kaning Rio Plus 10 conference or kaninga conference kay it also have 2 key documents came out, no, sa kanisya nga conference. So we have the first one, the Johannesburg Declaration, which it listed global challenges and shared goals. And then the second one is the plan of implementation, which nag-give siya og step-by-step guide on how the countries should act. So kani siya nga conference kay nakatabang siya to connect environmental issues to social and economic problems, no? The third conference, or what we call the Rio Plus 20 conference in 2012. So pag 2012, so the world met again in Rio de Janeiro for the Rio Plus 20 Conference, also called the United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development. So, kani siya nga conference, ga-focus siya sa two main themes. So, the first one is the green economy, which means developing economies that protect the environment. For example, eco-friendly farming, where ang mga farmers kay ga-use sila og mga natural fertilizers lang instead sa mga chemicals to protect the soil and water. And then the second one is the institutional frameworks for sustainable development, which improving laws and organizations to better manage sustainability. So for example, kanang organizations like the United Nations working with other countries to plan projects that fight climate change and support clean energy. So this conference reviewed what had been achieved in the last 20 years. So sadly, many of the goals from the past kay still not fully met. So environmental problems such as global warming and loss of biodiversity kay it continued to increase. So this conference encouraged countries to shift toward clean energy, recycling, and stronger environmental governance. So it was also a reminder that we must act faster and more seriously if we want to protect our planet. So there are achievements, of course, and challenges. So kato siya nga mga conference and reports. So the world has achieved many things, just like people are now more aware of climate change and sustainability. And also many countries have laws for clean air, clean water, and forest protection. And then the next one is the renewable energy is growing fast, especially solar and wind power. And then, however, there are still many challenges, such as uban sa mga countries kay mas ni continue sila or mas ni continue o gi-prioritize nila ang profit over the environment. And also pollution and deforestation remain serious issues. And then also the climate change is causing stronger typhoons, droughts, and floods, no? Especially karon, no? Unsa nay nahitabo sa mga cities nga lugar, which is gamay lang nga ulan, gabaha dayon. So that is why we should take care of our environment, no? If we want to live a healthier and greener life. So this shows that sustainability is a global mission that requires continuous effort. Of course, no? Progress has started, but we still have a long way to go. So in conclusion, sustainable development means growth with care. It teaches us that we can build cities, factories, and industries, but we must also protect our nature, of course. So all the world conferences, from the Brundtland Report to Rio Plus 20 conference, show that sustainability is not just an idea, it is a shared goal for humanity. Our planet is our home, so we have only one earth and we must take care of it, of course, for ourselves, for our future children, and the generations to come. So together we can build a world that is clean, safe, and sustainable for all. So that would be all for my part. Thank you so much for listening.